Hey everybody, it's Chris. We're going to be pruning a cherry tree today, and we're going to show you some tools of the trade and some techniques so that you can apply these techniques and tools to your property. So this tool is called a pole pruner, and how it works is it works on a pulley system to make the cut easier to do, and it will enable you to cut branches that are up to 1 inch thick, which is quite nice, and it also has a very long reach. So from the ladder or from the ground you can reach a long ways and accomplish a lot of cuts in the same place. And it's a bypass pruner. What that means is the blade actually passes by the anvil so that you get a nice clean cut. Another tool that we'll be using is a pair of secateurs or pruners, bypass pruners. Again, they bypass the anvil. There's several different companies that make good quality pruners, and the big thing is to make sure that you can replace the blade and that it is a bypass and not a pruner that just goes up to that bar right there. It actually goes past that point. These are nice because you can change out any part on here. You can replace that part instead of having to buy a whole new set of pruners. Another tool we'll be using is a handsaw. And this is a handsaw that cuts on the pull stroke. So you're cutting, and it's a fine tooth saw. So when you're pulling the saw, all the cutting action is on the pull and not the push. When you push, it clears all the debris out of the way for your next cut. Makes a very nice clean cut. And again, you can replace the blade on these, or you can actually have these sharpened as well. Alright, so for this particular tree, it's a cherry tree, and I was alluding to before is I believe this is a rootstock. And what that means is there's 3 different types of rootstock that determines the size of the fruit tree. And so it's a graft from the root, and they graft the top of a tree. And you could take any stone fruit or any cherry tree and graft it onto another cherry tree. But my point is that when you graft it onto there, that type of rootstock, whatever it is, determines the overall height of the tree. And once in a while, the whips, as they're called, they get missed, and you will have rootstock that grows up and they accidentally get sold at a nursery, and this is sometimes what happens. So it still will produce cherries, and you know, the fruit may not be desirable, or it'll be prone to disease or insects more so than a graft that is specifically for a certain type of fruit or certain size of cherry, or the cultivar basically. So what we want to do here is, the tree is much too high, even when it does produce fruit for the average homeowner to get. So we want to reduce that down a little bit, but we run into the danger of there's still the same amount of root material in the ground. So when you prune the top of the tree's natural defense mechanism will invigorate a bunch of new growth, and usually that's vertical. So it's kind of going against what we're trying to accomplish. So you have to do this very moderately and over the course of time to try to get the tree to settle out and go outwards as opposed to upwards. I'll show you a little later what I mean by upwards growth and outwards growth, and how that affects if it's going to be a fruiting spur or if it's going to be a growth spur. So we'll get started on pruning now. Alright, so here we're up in the tree here, and you can notice that this branch is growing horizontally, and generally what you're going to get off of that is fruiting spurs on fruiting trees. So what you're going to notice is the little branches are really small. That's because these are going to have flower buds on it, and then that's where your cherries are going to be. Towards the end of the branch, it starts to go upwards here. This is where you're going to get your next year's growth of a new shoot coming off of here. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to manage shoot growth and fruiting spurs, so that it's a nice balance, so you accomplish both your contained size of the tree and fruit at the same time. in the orchards, when you're pruning strictly for fruit production, they'll be far more aggressive on the growth of the tree in removing and try to get more energy towards fruit production. When you're in a residential setting, you can still do that if you prefer to have, if your main goal is to have fruit. But however, most people look at the tree throughout the year, so they want to have some aesthetic value there as well. So it's nice to balance the two and have a good fruit production as well as a nice looking tree. Alright, so this branch is really good, but it's not growing in a very favorable direction. So we're going to switch that up, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a cut right here. And the reason we want to do that is this last growth spur is growing in a much more desirable direction. So when this sprouts in the springtime, it's actually now going to be not going this way, and all the energy is going to be directed that way, which is a much more desirable location. It's going to fill in this area a little better. The big thing you want to do is make the bypass part of your cut on the inside part of that. In other words, you don't want to be on that side because it's too far away. You want to be nice and close like that, but not too close that you're damaging the bud. And you don't want to be too far away from the node so that you don't want to, for instance, if we were cutting this one, you don't want to cut up here because this is just going to die. There's going to be no nutrients coming to this to heal that. We want to be close to the node as possible so that it heals that wound over. So with any type of pruning, the first thing you want to do is you want to look for the 3 Ds. So you're looking for anything that's dead, diseased, or damaged. You remove those first, and then you work with what's left after that. So I don't see anything that's diseased or damaged or dead that's on this tree. So the next thing that you look for is crossing branches. And you want to eliminate the branches that are crossing towards the inside of the tree, so that the tree has a nice shape going outwards. Alright, once you have all the crossing branches done, then you can work on the overall shape of the tree. And if you want, you can reduce the tree. So you accomplish this by finding nodes that are outward facing to promote outward growth and vertical growth as opposed to horizontal. Always cut the outward node away from the center of the tree. So you might have noticed the ladder we're using. It's a tripod ladder, it's an orchard ladder, and it's really good for uneven ground. So it's fairly easy to move and set up, and it enables you to get into fairly tight spaces that a conventional ladder would have a hard time getting into, let alone setting up for. And as you can see, it's a nice, very sturdy ladder for minimal amount of setup time. They come in various sizes, from I believe the smallest one is 5 feet, and I believe the biggest one you can get is 14 feet. Here we have a completed job, and we didn't reduce too much of the tree because we don't want the tree to grow too much vertically. We want to kind of control the the amount of vertical growth that's going to happen. We want more horizontal growth. So this is going to be ongoing. You're going to have to do this you know, at least for the next 5 years to control, get it to settle down. And then you could, if you'd like, you could do it every couple of years, or if you really like, you could do it every year. Timing wise, the best time to do it when the tree goes dormant. I prefer to wait till after the hard frosts have gone, just before the buds start to swell. It decreases the chance of frost tip dieback. And you can also do it as well when it's dormant in the summer. August is a good time when the tree is pretty dormant, and then sometimes they'll have another little growth spurt in September. So those are 2 times that you can do it. So thanks for watching.